Tabitha from Bewitched with the real Jimmy Deal.
And hey, Allison, how are you? So great to have you on with us.
Well, hi, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a while since we got to talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's so great to have you back on the show. And I know you're always busy. You have so much going on all the time.
Well, and this weekend's been nuts because my husband's birthday was the 12th, and this was the birthday party weekend. How many parties do we have? Well, last night was the actual official big party, and his family flew in, and it was like completely epic. So, yeah.
Wow. And I know you're looking forward to this big Little House 50th anniversary reunion. It's going to be in Farmington, Connecticut, Labor Day weekend, right?
Right. This is insane. So 2 weeks, we have been doing this whole 50th anniversary thing. It started in January. I mean, it really started in December. It has been nonstop events all year. I did my show at the Sierra Madre Playhouse in January, and it's just been off and running. And we have been everywhere. We've been to Walnut Grove to Monte Carlo, and I've been doing my shows. And then this is huge. This one in Connecticut. A lot of it is sold out. I think they've got like a few VIP tickets left. They're one of the breakfasts or something. They're like trying to add stuff in there. I mean, it is crazy. But everybody's coming. Dean's coming. Dean Bozomanzo's coming, and Baby Grace and Matt Laberto, our lovely Albert, who never comes to that boy never comes to anything. He's gonna be there. So it's gonna be fabulous, and it goes on for days. And there'll be signing and breakfasts and dinners with the cast, and we really roll out all the red carpet for people.
And I know there's been a change, right? Because it was going to be at the convention center, but now they moved it to Farmington.
Oh man. This one's like the floating crap game. I gotta check, my phone where are we having it? It was somewhere. Then it was a convention center. Now, I don't live in Connecticut. I've been to Connecticut a few times, very pretty. But fans who live in Connecticut have been jumping on to post, oh, wait, is it there now? Because that's like a way better neighborhood and much nicer. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay, apparently this is like better than the last two places we were going to have it. So I'm like, okay, as long as it's better, I'm so going. So, yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's going to be wagons and all types of memorabilia as well. It's at the museum, I believe, right?
There's a museum. It's at a museum, and there's a couple of guys down there right now, like building and painting Little House on the Prairie backdrops and recreations and stuff. And it's going to be absolutely wild.
Yeah, I know there's going to be the big breakfast, and then there's going to be a dinner, and there's also going to be an illusion show I heard about that you're going to be a part of. Tell us about that.
This is totally insane. This has never happened at one of our events, but this is because it's Susan McCrae, who was married to Ken McCrae, original producer, and Susan was the casting director. So she goes way back. She knows everybody, and she's also very connected in Connecticut with the fabulous the Kids Play Museum. So she's all over it. So she goes, how do you feel about magic? I'm like, wait, what? No, I actually I have friends who are magicians, and I have participated in magic acts and everything. So it's like, well, there's this illusionist, this woman, she has this fabulous show. You want to be in it. So next thing I know, I went and opened my big mouth. So I think I'm either getting sawn in half or my head chopped off. I'm not sure.
That's great.
But something terrible is going to happen to me. Apparently, this woman is brilliant. She has this whole show, and that's now going to be part of the event. You get a magic show thrown in, and yes, I will be the magician's assistant for the day, and probably get brutalized in some magic form.
Right, and you're going to be signing autographs, of course, and memorabilia, right? All types of. You're going to have your book there, of course, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, a great book. I love this book. In fact,
and you get a free bookmark. You buy one, you always get a free bookmark.
Wow. Okay. So, you have pictures, all types. And I know you love meeting the fans.
I do. We have aprons. I just got in a bunch of aprons. I had these aprons made. And yes, they say, who's going to do the cooking? So, yes, it's hysterical. We have aprons. We have bonnets. We have just everything. Well, everybody from the cast is really friendly. I don't know how many other casts, how many other shows are like this, but we actually we take pleasure in doing these events and going out and doing stuff. So we're very gregarious and like to talk to the fans and hang out with people. So yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Right. I know you guys had a very big reunion in California, right? I think it was like 18,000 fans, right? Tell us about that. That must have been, and it was on the location where they actually did Little House, right?
So Simi Valley, which is where we filmed all the outdoor scenes. We're at Paramount Studios in Simi Valley for the outdoor stuff. We went out to Simi, and we had this guy, this artist, Olan Paz, and we have all these artists, Eric Corona, Montreal, people working on this stuff. Olan painted these enormous, backdrop things. He's been doing Little House backdrops, but these were full-size paintings. of the building. So when you went through in the bus tour, it's like, and there's the Mercantile and there's the school. It's like, there they were. And so he did these and they put them up on the location site where the buildings had been. So there was actually a bus tour that drove the whole thing. And then at the main stage area, we had photo ops, we had cast members. Melissa Gilbert even came to that one. And Jonathan Gilbert has never been to anything that I know of, even during the show. And we hadn't seen him in years ourselves. And he shows up. It was absolutely epic. And we said, okay, we know we've sold like 10,000 to 18,000 people showed up over 3 days. It's like 10,000 people. It was like Woodstock. It was like prairie Woodstock.
Woodstock for Little House.
We're going to be sleeping in tents. And then when it rained, I said, okay, now it is Woodstock. They're going to be sitting out in the mud. It's going to go crazy. And we had panel things. And I was exhausted. 3 days of that. We were all in bed for a week after that one. But yeah, that's the kind of response and turnout we've been getting to all of these events, that 50 years later, people want to see us so badly and talk to us that we're getting thousands of people come to this. There's a couple thousand people coming to this thing in Connecticut.
Oh,
this thing's totally off the rails. We may need all three of the places we thought we were going to be. I don't know what we're doing.
Well, the show is so iconic. Everybody loves Little House on the Prairie.
Well, yeah, but I mean, 50 years. I mean, there's a lot of shows.
Yeah, Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek's still going. William Shatner, he's out there every weekend.
It's like Star Trek, I Love Lucy, or The Wizard of Oz. It's like being in one of those because it's not normal. I mean, there's shows that were huge hits 50 years ago, won Emmys, were big hits. They're not even out on DVD or streaming. They're not even in reruns. And you don't meet people in the street go, oh, yes, I watch it every day. And no, they're not dressing up as them. Nobody's having an event for these shows, and people are coming in full costume and dressing up. People come in full prairie dresses with the bonnets and the outfits. Oh my God, there was a guy dressed as Mr. Edwards at a thing. I was just in the full outfits. I had a couple. I had two gentlemen arrive. One dressed completely as Percival, and the other in perfect Nelly drag.
Oh wow!
I am telling you, people come in full costume for this stuff, and they the whole family dresses up as the Ingalls, and the small children are dressed, the baby carry. It's like I don't see that. I don't, other than like maybe The Wizard of Oz or Star Trek, where people are doing cosplay. There's Little House on the Prairie cosplay.
That's amazing. That really is amazing. Yeah, I know. We just had Dean Butler on the show, and
do you love him? Do you love him?
He's so great, and I know you guys are really good friends. I mean, on and off camera, of course.
We're like everything. So I'm screwing around with my lighting. We're at everything together because he's got the book. He's been talking about the book. I actually wrote a foreword for his book. I liked it so much, and so he's been doing all these book signings and stuff, and it's really great because a lot of these women were madly in love with Dean. Let's just face it, manly, and so he wrote a book and perfectly called Prairie Man. And they really wanted to know all the things he'd done. I mean, he's that guy. He was the boyfriend in Judy Blume's Forever. And then he was Moondoggy Gidget's boyfriend. He was Buffy the Vampire Slayer's dad, which is like the craziest thing in the world. And then Laura Ingalls' husband. So, yes, he's the dude. And I think it's really just exploded for him this year with the 50th and the book, the fan love for our Dean.
Right. He's going to be signing the book over at this event as well. So I know he's excited about having the book there.
Ship another couple of crates because
I know. We were talking about you a little bit on the show, and I mean, he absolutely loves you, and I know you love him. And he talked about how you used to come to work dressed as a punk rocker sometimes.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was the 70s. The show ran from 74 to 83, and so in the 70s, 77, 78, 79, I was going to all the good concerts. I saw the Go-Go's when they first started. I saw the Germs. I saw the Dead Boys, the Cramps. I love the Cramps. I saw the Clash. I saw Sham 69 live. There was another 69 live. I didn't get to see the Pistols, but I did see them when they became PIL. So I got to see just about everybody, and it was incredible. And so I would go to the concerts, and so absolutely, I had all these fabulous. I would have if I hadn't been on the show and had to keep my hair perfectly the same length of blonde for the wig and everything. Right. Man, that would have gone spiked and chopped and gone orange. I had blue and orange hair and a safety pin in my cheek. But I had that, and I would sometimes come in with my jackets covered in safety pins and stuff, playing music in my dressing room. And they're like, I also, my first car, I got a 1957 Ford Ranchero pickup truck in original colors, the fins with the red and the white, and was playing like rock and roll, blasting on the speakers as I drove into work. So yeah, Dean, who as you know is very goody two shoes, was like, I think he was terrified of me.
What was the reaction of Michael Landon and the other cast members when they saw you dressed up like that?
Michael had a lot of kids and he'd raised teenagers. He just went, he's like, yeah, that's about right.
Wow. And of course he was Little Joe on Bonanza, and he was in that character when he was on the show. Still, I know people still recognized him as Little Joe. Right?
He would answer to it. That is that Michael was all about the fans. Michael knew how to talk to his fans, and he just did. He understood how they were attached to Little House and to Bonanza. And if you were out in public somewhere with him, and people would tell the same jokes, like, "Hey, Little Joe, where's Hoss?" Har, 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 har. Well, like he's never heard this before. And a lot of actors would be like, that was, Highway to Heaven. They'd be like, that's 2 shows ago. They would be like, seriously? Stop it. No, he would not. They could yell Little Joe. He would snap right around. Yes. And if they said something completely stupid, like, where's Hosby? He'd go, he's back in the kitchen with Hop Sing. He would just go there and just run with it and completely go with it. He'd go, he's so there. And I mean, after, they left, he kind of rolled his eyes and go, okay, that was number 5,872. I just did that. But He did that. He understood that the fans were down. He would go with it. He would absolutely go with it. He was hilarious.
Right. And he had the Hollywood look, right? I mean, come to work with the sunglasses and the gold chains and the fancy cars, right?
Okay, the question I get asked a lot was like, Michael Landon as good looking in person as he was better. he had a gym on the set where he'd pump up. He always had the perfect tan and then he moved to Malibu in case his tan wasn't perfect, so he could tan every day. And he had the gold chains and the shirt was down to the navel and the skin tight jeans because it was the 70s. They were painted on. The pants were painted on, and he just did look amazing. He lit up the room. You say the 5,000-watt smile. Mm-hmm. That was absolutely just lit the place up, and he was hilarious. But he would walk into the room. If people didn't know who he was, he could walk into a room and everyone would go, well, that's clearly someone. What is? And so, yeah, he absolutely was the star, and he was very pretty, and he knew he was pretty.
I'm sure he did. He called all the shots on that show, right? I mean, how was he as an executive producer, and how was he as a boss? Right,
because he's okay. Well, he was great. I mean, as I always said, that show. I mean, that was the most fun you could have working with, short of getting arrested. I mean, it was just incredible because he was writing the show. I'm not playing with my light again. I'm so crazy. Hi, am I vain? No, I'm not vain. He was the executive producer, and he was directing. I think about a third of the shows. I mean, he had one or two with Bill Claxton, was great, about third, but he was writing the shows. And we were just talking the other day with a marvelous guy who'd worked at NBC at the time, at the peak of the show, and worked with Michael. And the reality was, he kind of wrote all the episodes because he would write the episodes, and the episodes that were 100% by Michael Landon that would come in, he'd get and go, well, I don't know. What about this thing here on page 32? It's not working for me. They would have a meeting and he'd say, well, what if we did this? And I'm planning on introducing this new character this year. So maybe we could work that. And suddenly there would be a little change, significant change. He was like the final arbiter or script editor. So he would change stuff. So technically his finger was all the pies. He kind of rewrote. And then as director, he directed episodes. And then Bill Claxton or one of these great people would be directing. And luckily Bill understood and Victor French understood. He'd go, oh, wait, come here a minute. Let me see. And suddenly he's behind the camera going, well, what if we did this? And okay, he's directing again. So he was co-directing and co-writing whatever he wasn't already directing and writing. I remember even costumes. I had a new outfit for the new season. And they brought me into makeup where he was sitting to show him what I was wearing, so he would approve it. He would approve props. They would bring him. So, how's this? No, I don't like it. Make another one. I mean, nothing went on that screen. I mean, he watched the approval. Yeah. Do you remember dailies? Like before we had digital,
sure.
They would take the show, and the next day you had to watch the dailies. Right. He watched the dailies. Every day. So amazing. He was on it. But I think that ultimate, massive quality control thing he had going. That's why here we are 50 years later. and people are still into it because that attention to detail and obsession with quality product, that
Of course.
really worked. And he did have an insane sense of humor, so he made it really fun, a fun place to be on the set. So even though it's like, no, this has to be perfect, and we're getting all of this stuff done today in one day before 5 o'clock perfectly, you're like, okay. But then he would be cracking jokes and carrying on, and somehow you'd be just really trying to go, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock and I'm exhausted. And what just happened? Didn't I just get here 5 minutes ago? And you were done.
Wow. They were long days on those sets, right?
They were. I was so lucky. I mean, the kids, we followed the rules. Anybody under 18, it was 4 hours work, 3 hours school, 1 hour rest and recreation. So 9 hours plus lunch. And so we had to go home if we got there at 7, we're gone. We had to go the 9 hours, and the adults could work a little longer. But even then, he didn't want to do the big 14-hour crazy days that he'd done on Bonanza and other shows. He said, we've all gotten older. We've got wives and kids. Let's go home for dinner. So people got out. If they went late, like 6, 7, none of this all night, they went home. And with the kids, with half the cast being children, it's like great excuse to all bail at 5 o'clock. Let's just, do it early. And we did start early. We started ridiculously early, so we could get out early. But he tried not to do the long, but it was exhausting. I mean, I had a friend, an actor, came to the set, and he saw the call sheet with everything listed. And he said, you know that this call sheet says that you're doing 12 pages in one day. Right. And I had no idea. I was a teenager, said, yeah, and he went, you cannot film 12 pages. That's like physically impossible in your Panavision. I mean, like I said, this wasn't digital. He said, you're not doing multi-cam, 3 cam. You have a cam. You cannot film 12 pages with like multiple setups and dialogue in 8 hours, 9 hours. It's physically impossible in 12 pages. And I said, oh, well, we did 14 yesterday. Is that? We got through 12 pages with time to spare.
Right.
So, yeah, it was that kind of place.
Wow. Amazing. I want to talk about the audition. I mean, because I know you auditioned for more than just Nellie, right? I mean, didn't you do the audition for? Yeah. Tell us about the other characters you auditioned for.
As I said, Laura Ingalls was like the search for Scarlett O'Hara for 8-year-olds. I think everyone between the ages of like 8 and 12 just like read for that. I read for the part of Laura. I read for the part of Mary, which was just so wrong. And I when they went to do the pilot, I went, oh, well, they got these 2 girls, and that makes sense because that's so not me. And then they called me back, and I had not read the book, so I didn't know there was a Nellie Olson. Right. I was like, hey, Nellie Olson. And they had me back, and I'm like, I don't know. And I'm looking at the pages, and my dad's with me because I'm 12. And I'm reading this, and I turned to my father. I said, this is not a normal part. He said, what do you mean? I said, she's a bitch. This girl's horrible. My father's like, what are you saying? What? And I said, well, yeah. I started reading it for him. He starts cracking up. He's dying of laughter. He goes, oh, gosh, she is a bitch. He said, all right, you read it just like that. Don't look at it again. Don't rehearse it again. Put the pages face down. Don't even look at them. I was like, what? So I go in cold, and there's Michael Landon and Kent and I think Scott Ed Friendly, the producer, all 3, they're all on the couch, all the producers. And I read the thing, and they start laughing hysterically, like it is the funniest thing they've ever heard. It's Country Girls. It's all the stuff from Country Girls. Right. I don't think the Country Girls have a penny. And then they said, could you do it again, please? And I said, oh, yes. What would you like me to change? Trained little child actors. And they said, no, that's the part about the house again. And they just wanted to hear me say, my home is the best home in all of Walnut Grove. And it was, they could not stop laughing. And I thought, okay, what am I doing here? And it's because there's a joke in there. Well, first of all, it's hilarious. I mean, yes, she's mean, but it's hilarious. Maybe not every 11-year-old in town got the joke.
Right.
I did. Nellie is so dumb. Okay, she's hilarious, but she's kind of an idiot. She doesn't realize how ridiculous she sounds. And she's reading this thing about how much everything costs, and she's dead serious. Like, yes, this is a totally normal thing to do. And anyone else would be like, that's terrible. You can't get up and do that. But she's like, mm-hmm. And she says, we have 3 sets of dishes, one for every day, one for Sunday, and one for when someone very special and important comes to visit, which we have never even used yet. Not realizing she's just made it obvious you live in Walnut Grove, Minnesota. Nobody famous is coming.
Right.
The Queen of England's not dropping in, Mrs. Olsen. Sorry, she's not coming. There is no one important coming to the Olsen's house for dinner. And she's like, which we have never even used yet. Like, this is good. And Nellie is oblivious to how ridiculous this sounds. And I don't know that everyone got that joke and realized that this is hysterical, but she has to like not know what she said. I did. I read it. Oh no, she totally just went. She just totally owned herself. And so I guess they were like, oh wow, she got it. This is great. So
amazing. So what was so nice is you had to go to work and you didn't have to be nice to anybody, which was great.
I know, that's why it's so relaxing, right? You have to be so nice to people all day at work. And I didn't. And it was fun. We were nice to each other, but it was the being able to have whole chunks of time where I was yelling and screaming and throwing stuff and breaking things. Do you know how relaxing that is? Do you get everything out of your system? It's like what therapy with bataka bats or something. I mean, the yelling and the throwing and the screaming. And then Melissa and I go, how come you guys are friends? Because we got it all out. They let us beat each other senseless. It was like the couples there were going to hit each other with a pillow. And, so of course, and there's just something about that. And it gets it all out of your system. And it's very cleansing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nellie, she was such a rough person to be. I want to say she was a bitch, but that's so not part of your personality. Was that hard for you to portray on camera?
See, I should say, it was really hard. It was so difficult, but the easiest job I've ever had. No, there were episodes where I was like, wow, this is what. The one where I mean to the stuttering girl.
Right.
Yeah, I call that the episode where even I hate me. I mean, that's. Oh my God, the poor girl. Say Peter Piper. I can't even say Peter Piper pickled peppers. It's murder. And I'm making the stutterer say it and then going, I can't hear you. Just Peter Piper, like, say it louder. Like, what the hell? I couldn't say the letter S when I was little.
Wow.
I was really little. I sounded like Cindy Brady when I was really little. I was like, my name's Alafun. And I went to speech class or speech class, as I said. I went to speech class after school. I could not say letters. And so I was in speech class with people who stammered and stuttered. And a lovely girl who could not say the letter R. For a month, I thought her name was Wanda. I know that sounds like a horrible joke. It's completely true. I'm sure she thought my name was Alison. But her name is Rhonda. It's so embarrassing. But Wanda, what's your name? Wanda. So I hung out with people who had speech impediments and stuttered. I knew people who stuttered. So I'm not going to go around making stutterers say Peter Piper picked a peck of pickle. Not a thing I'm going to do. Torture a crying stuttering girl. So I was kind of horrified. It's like, wow, that's awful. And Katie Kurtzman, who did it. So brilliant. She's like sobbing and stuttering, and I'm just going, I can't look at her. It's like, this is hard. But of course, we had a great time doing it. We like finished, and we're like, let's go get ice cream. But most of the time, it was kind of freeing and kind of fun. I highly recommend playing a villain if you get a chance. I recommend it. Really, it's cool. The villains have all the good lines.
They do.
All the good jokes. It's really fun. So you get to say and do outlandish things you wouldn't do. You get to be. I always enjoyed villains. So in a way, I did love it. It wasn't that hard. I mean, there were things where I was like, wow, that's even bad, but it did to me. But I had a very good time doing it, and I took, not only I took great pride in it. I mean, there were sometimes episodes where I sat there and practiced certain scenes at home, so they would be perfectly annoying. I would try out ways of doing it different, as I say, intentions, line readings, and I'd go, well, that's pretty bad. And then I tried again and go, ooh, that was worse. And when hearing my own voice made me wince like fingernails on a blackboard, like I wanted to hit myself in the face, that's the one. I'll do that.
Amazing. Now, you've been in this business a long, long time. Your mom was a voice actor, right? She was some famous characters, right? Casper the Friendly Ghost.
My mother was the voice of Casper the Friendly Ghost, and she was Gumby, and she was Sweet Polly Purebred Underdog's girlfriend, and she was Davy of Davy.
Yeah, I used to love Davy and Goliath, and she was Davy, which is so awesome.
Well, it's also funny because if you watch Davy and Goliath, there's only two people on that show. So
Right.
she's Davy and Davy's mom and all of Davy's friends.
Wow.
And there's a guy who's Davy's dad and the preacher and the fireman and the policeman. And so basically when Davy would have a party with like 4 friends
Mhm.
and then his mom and his sister would be there. My mother having a 7-way conversation by herself.
Wow. And your dad too was in the business. He was a manager, right? He worked with Liberace. Tell us
Yeah.
about Liberace, because I know you knew Liberace.
My dad starts an actor. He was on Broadway and everything, and then he comes out and he becomes a manager. So he gets hired at Seymour Heller and Associates in the big 9,000 building on Sunset, and
Right.
they're like, "Well, Debbie Reynolds, Liberace. Oh yes, Seymour Heller, Liberace's right hand man." He goes, "Well, we're signing you to Liberace in L.A. Seymour will go to Vegas with him. You're the L.A. guy, so you're going to the L.A. shows. And would you mind renting a house?" Moving your family up into the Hollywood Hills around the corner from Liberace's house, like in case he needs something. I'm
Right.
like, what? He breaks a sequin in the middle of the night. I have no idea what this was for. But we did. So we lived around the corner from Liberace, and I got to go see Liberace shows when I was 8 years old, which is hysterical. Because,
Amazing.
like, they said you have to be on your best behavior. Don't say anything because no one must know that Liberace is gay. I said, I'm sorry, I'm 8. I know he's gay. I mean, what? Look at the guy. And but no, it was a different time. He couldn't
It
come.
was.
He just didn't. He just wouldn't. He believe. Oh no, they won't like me. They won't like me. And I'm telling you, those women loved him. They all know he was gay.
Absolutely.
And they freaking loved him. But no, he was hilarious. And he was such a nice man. And he showed me the watch that's a piano and the ring that's a candelabra. And we would go trick-or-treating at his house.
Are you serious? Was he home?
No, he would be out at a party. He had a butler. And they had a butler and it come to the door in uniform with a silver tray with these little tiny plastic pumpkins full of jelly beans. And oh my God, they were great.
Wow.
No cheap candy at Liberace.
Amazing. Now, I know you got to go to the shows and go backstage and hang out with him, because there's a great picture in your book of you and Liberace.
Yes, that's it. Though. I'm like this little tiny girl in the dress. And there's Liberace smiling away with all his jewelry and everything.
Yeah.
And the look on my face is kind of a little bit like, this man is absolutely out of his mind. But he was brilliant. I mean, his shows, they were always sold out.
Oh yeah. He was a great entertainer.
He was absolutely brilliant, and he gave us a phrase that is in our modern just vernacular that people use all the time, and I don't think they know it's Liberace.
Mm-hmm.
He got a review where they said, "This is ridiculous. This guy's he can play, but this is a stupid show." And they savaged him. They said it was awful. And he said, the shows were packed. And he said, "When I read the review, I cried all the way to the bank."
Oh my God.
And he
Yeah,
literally said that. He is the man who coined that phrase. And you hear people say, laughing all the way to the bank, crying all the way to the bank. Thank you. Thank you, Liberace.
Yeah, I go to Las Vegas a lot, and I always stop at his house there in Las Vegas. I mean, what a beautiful house! I've actually been inside the house, which is really
God, right?
beautiful. I mean, beautiful, unbelievable. So it must have been a thrill for you, really, to grow up with Liberace, though. That's
It
awesome.
was because he was fascinating, and he was a great person to work for. My father and Seymour stood by him to the very end. Everyone who worked for him, you run into people who work for him, they all have the same like shirt off his back kind of stories, that he was a great boss, that he took care of everyone, and he was great to work for, and that's very rare. I mean, the Hollywood, everybody's a jerk.
Yeah.
People in Hollywood are narcissistic sociopaths. So usually, so when you hear a story about someone, Liberace was like the gay Elvis. People loved him.
Right. Wow, unbelievable. That's so great. Also, I want to ask you about Melissa Gilbert. I know you guys are really good friends, right? To this day, you guys hang out every now and then, right? Tell us about that.
Well, we have the text. I said the mass text. If someone said, "How many people from the show are on your phone do you have on speed dial?" And I'm like, I think 14. But yes, she's awesome. She's awesome. She's always been this feisty, scrappy little thing, and she still is. And have you seen her stuff? The whole Modern Prairie thing she's doing.
Yeah, I saw all that. It's amazing. She's
there's like cookware, and yes, there's all kinds of bonnets and bloomers, but there's like cookware and aprons. But it's this whole lifestyle thing. It's like Gwyneth Paltrow has that Goop thing. It's like Goop for older ladies. But she's got a thing. It's like Oprah. She's got like a book club and a thing, and she's got an app. You can get an app on your phone.
Really?
Friends and all their stuff they're doing. And there's the gardening and the cooking, but she talks about aging and dealing with life and menopause and grandchildren and empty nest syndrome and all of these things that are happening to
Yeah.
the women who grew up watching Little House, and it's like everybody's identifying. It's fabulous. She's the queen of modern prairie now.
Yeah, I know. I've met her quite a few times. She's very cool,
And
nice
chickens.
person. Yeah.
She's raising chickens.
Is she
She's
raising
obsessed.
chickens?
She's obsessed with chickens. I do not want to raise chickens. I know it's great. You get the eggs. I just can't. The neighbors have chickens. I hear them now. Maybe I'll go there and I'll buy eggs from them. But she raises chickens. She's in that place in the Catskills, and she got a couple chickens, and she's always liked them. She goes, "Oh, they're so cute, all the little baby chickens." And then it like kind of, I don't know, it got away from her. She has this huge flock of chickens, and she's like all into what chicken feed, which is very Laura Ingalls. Laura Ingalls Wilder invented her own chicken feed. She came
Really?
up with a formula where her chickens were in better health and laid more eggs than all the other chickens. And come to Laura Ingalls Wilder when she was an old lady to get her recipe for chicken feed. And I think Melissa is now doing this because she's raising all these chickens. And it's the weirdest thing that that at this age she would be raising chickens in the Catskills, but she loves them. She's mad for chickens.
Wow. I know I'm going to get this question. Of course, you've been asked a billion times. What was your favorite episode? I already know, but you can tell us.
Without a doubt, and I've said it before, and I'll say it's true. Bunny, the one where I go down the hill in the wheelchair.
Yeah, and you were already injured before you even did that, right?
Hi, thank you. I already had a real broken arm. I had broken my arm skateboarding, and so they put an 1800s cast over it with the bandages and the wood, the Doc Baker thing.
Wow.
And which meant I'm in this chair with no seatbelts and no protection. Now, I didn't have to do the main hill with the back. What we actually did was the stunt woman did the big hill and the somersault, and then I was taken to a different hill that was less steep. And so they took me to the less steep hill. I'm playing with my light again, sorry. And it was longer, so they had more footage of me screaming. And I still had no seatbelts, no protection. It was just in a nightgown and bedroom slippers and like hanging on for dear life. But what's wrong? I mean, who does this? Nobody has done the Brady Bunch, the Waltons. I have not seen a television show where a main character was shoved down in a wheelchair into a pond. It's the most insane thing to come up with. And I did it. I'm proud to say I did do it. And then I had to get in that pond. I didn't have to do the somersault, but I had to get in the pond and come up. It was gross. But yes, I did it, and I'm proud of it. And it's still funny. I mean, people watch it over and over again. Okay, there's many videos of it on YouTube, but there's one that's a loop. They've just put it on a loop. And
they keep going down the hill.
It's really good. And I have to admit, even when I see it, it still never gets old. I still crack up, especially when Melissa goes, "You're such a good friend, Nellie." It's pretty. And then actually, my favorite part is when Mrs. Olsen screams, "It's a miracle," and falls off the horse.
Wow.
I mean, really. It's a great piece of film. What can we do? I cannot deny it's the best episode.
Yeah, it must have been so challenging to be on that set because it was, of course, based in the 1800s, right? I mean, and there were animals on the set. Tell us about what was the most challenging part of playing Nellie in that type of set.
Well, yeah, the physical conditions. Little House was a great show to be on, and acting wise, it was fine, and like personality wise, people were generally really nice. But physically, oh my God, we shot a lot in the summer because the kids. And it was 1,000,000 degrees. It's California, and we were in. Have you ever been to Simi Valley? Simi Valley. It is 1,000,000 degrees in Simi Valley in the summer. It gets really hot. And then also, we were not digital yet. It was film, so we had the giant 10K lights blasting on us in case we weren't hot enough. And then we're wearing sleeves down to here and the collar up to here and bonnets. And I had a wig. Yes, it's a wig. And a very big, uncomfortable wig. And the thing about, and the stockings and the high button shoes. We're dying. It's so hot.
I could imagine.
It's 100 degrees in the shade. And then the lights go, and we're like, oh my God. I passed out from the heat several times.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, I was the first to go. Canary in a coal mine. I was the first to go down, but others proceeded to pass out, and they said, "Oh, it's not just her." So it was so hot, and then out on in the studio, there's bathrooms, there's a commissary, there's things. Out on location, you've got the little trailers, and we've got bathrooms, but it's kind of the modern version of an outhouse. It's a porta potty kind of thing, and we did have that. There was air conditioning in the dressing rooms. We couldn't turn it on. We never used it.
Really?
What? Because Generators. There's no electricity out there. So the dressing rooms are all plugged into this giant bank of generators, which make an insane amount of noise. And they would charge up the batteries for the camera. It was too loud. It couldn't be on when they were filming. So it was off all day. So you'd go up at lunch and the dressing room was blazing hot and they'd turn it on. So about half an hour, it could be kind of cooled off. That was it. You can use it. And there's a TV and a radio in the dressing room that don't work because there's no reception out there. Cell phones weren't invented. You still can't make one work out there if you're out there. We were in the 1800s for the day.
Yeah. I mean, I know it was a hard location to get to. I mean, it was not an easy place in Hollywood to work in. Right?
It's still hard to get to. And then so once a year or so we go out to Arizona or we go up to Sonora. But we were in Communicado and we were in the wilderness and we were in the 1800s. So it gave it a wonderful feeling as an actor. You're like, wow, sure. I am cut off from all electronics and nobody can call me and I can't even turn on the radio and I'm in these clothes all day. I'm in the 1800s. But it was hard. And all the stuff we had to do, all the rolling around in the mud and the fighting and the down the hill and doing your own stunts. And you're going, this is a lot of work. And then like it's the location, we get out to Arizona. Oh my God. And then when we're in the river, we did the river scene up in snow, which was beautiful, but we had on wetsuits under our clothes because it was so cold. You could freeze up and possibly drown. And they had stuntmen and then we're stuck in the wetsuits so long. Can we go to the bathroom? Oh, well, the dressing rooms are really far and we'd have to take off the costume and the wetsuit. So can you wait until lunch? And Melissa and I are trying. It's the river one, the camp out. We're in that river all day where I almost drowned. She saves me. So we're standing around in the costumes over the wetsuits, looking, you can barely move. You're the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Mm-hmm. And we have to go to the bathroom so bad. And they're like, but we're kind of stuck all the way down here in the river. We have to put you in the car and drive you to the dressing room and get you out of it. Can you hang on? Okay. Wow. And hours go by and I look over and Melissa suddenly is like, and I'm like, oh God, no, you did not. And she's like, do it. It'll keep you warm. We peed in our wetsuits.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it works. It does work. It keeps you warm. The wardrobe lady was mad, and we were never denied bathroom privileges again. But I am told by people who scuba dive, that peeing in the wetsuits is kind of a thing.
And you had to watch where you stepped because of the animals too, right? I'm sure they had accidents all over the place.
I don't know how we survived any of that. I mean, very few people got hurt. A couple stunt people, but they're trained to fall off of things. And
right.
I mean, that's why they always say, well, why did the stunt people ride? Why didn't the actors do more riding? Because if the actor falls off and breaks something, you're not shooting for a week. If the stunt person falls off and breaks something, you get another stunt person and keep going. Also, the stunt person is less likely to fall off or to even break something if they do, because they know how to fall off a horse and they know how to stay on a horse. So the stunt person is hundreds of times less likely to get injured than an actor who's not a trained stunt person. Sure. And then if they do, they can say, Harry, go on, I'll be in the trailer. And so we had a lot of stunt people, thank God. But we did have one wagon dump out. Mrs. Olson was driving, and Jonathan and Willie and I were in the back, and Catherine. And it was just for a few feet. They were like, it's nothing. You just giddy up, go over here. But it was next to a stream, a riverbank. I think we're at Disney Ranch, and something gave way, and the horses freaked out, and that whole thing just tipped over.
Oh, and wow!
We had to jump clear, or we would have wound up in a pond. But I don't know, would the buggy have landed on top of us? I don't know. I didn't want to find out. So yes, we jumped because I didn't want to see how bad that was going to happen once it fell over. So yeah, there were times where it was a little iffy. We could have all been killed by bees. We were not, because Michael landed. There's an episode where Mrs. Olson and Nellie get the insane idea to go get this log full of honey to make their own honey, and they'll keep bees. They have no experience in beekeeping, but yeah. So the plan was log in the wagon, and they had these bees. This guy says, I have trained bees, and brings in these bees that you can apparently use for filming that don't sting. I don't know. They're drugged. What do they do to these poor bees? I have no idea, these poor bees. But they were supposedly very tame. They weren't stinging bees. And I went, that doesn't sound likely. But they were going to do this. And Catherine and I were like, we're going to get covered in bees? I don't know. Man. Okay. And then Michael talks to the guy with the bees. Because nothing, not even a bee was allowed on the set unless he approved it. So he said, let me check out these bees. And the guy's given the whole pitch. Got them up. They don't do anything. Look at these bees. See, look, it's on my arm. See, it's totally, it doesn't sting. It's totally calm. And Michael's like, let me see. And the guy lets the bees crawl on him. Michael's going, that's great. And the bee stings him.
Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, boy.
Got a spray in there. And Michael's like, okay, yeah, we're not doing this. You can go now. You take your bees and you may
Change
leave.
of plans.
Bye. And told him to pack up his bees and hit it and said, we're going to do something else. So Catherine McGregor and I are in the wagon and they go, bees. And we go, help. And then they got like, I don't know, Wild Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom or something, stock footage of swarming bees.
Oh, wow.
In 1970s technology, we had no CGI. 1970s extraordinarily basic special effects, superimposed bees. And it's brilliant. It looks really, now everyone's got high def and all this stuff in Blu-ray now. And they're seeing through all of our tacky special effects. There's several things. There's a whole bloopers page on Facebook where they're,
I have to check that out.
They're shredding us. The whole Little House bloopers. They're just going, I can see that's not. They're seeing through. And they're like, guys, it was shot in 35 millimeter. It was shown on a television that had like this many pixels in the screen. Right. You couldn't see any of that then. You have much fancier televisions now, and you're seeing everything. And now they're watching it just going, what? And I'm going, it was 1974. What were we supposed to do?
Wow. What was Nels Olsen like? Richard Bull.
Richard Bull would be the one I would say be voted most like his character.
Really?
He was the voice of reason and sanity on the set. Just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person. Very fatherly, very Mr. Olsen, just an incredible, incredible guy.
Amazing. And your mom, of course, you mentioned Catherine McGregor, right?
Also
she was great to look at.
Like her character in many ways. Now, it's funny because Dean was saying, oh, no, she was totally Mrs. Olsen. I'm like, no, she wasn't horrible like Mrs. Olsen. She was nice. He goes, yeah, but she was like Mrs. Olsen. She talked like that. It would alarm people because she said, well, what are we going to, oh my God, this is it. And she liked to argue. She liked to drive 80 miles an hour to work, get pulled over and argue with the police about the ticket. I mean, she was that kind of person. Absolutely. Wow. She was on the condo committee, at her building, like the homeowners association. And she ran the condo meetings, like the Grange meetings on the prairie. I met people who live in her building. They're like, oh my God, you should see this woman. And I was like, someone has too many potted plants on the balcony. She's a scream. She's a very, very, very funny woman. She was one of the most hilarious people you will ever meet. And no filter. I think that's why it worked her character. This woman had no filter. It came in here, came right out here. She said some things. Sometimes she say things to people and go, Catherine, no, don't do that. Don't stop. Because you go, what I say? What? But she had no filter and that worked. So when she went into Mrs. Olsen mode for camera, she knew how to let this, like, as she said, she's not just mean, she's foolish. She's a foolish woman. And she knew that Mrs. Olsen was foolish and thought she was more important than she was and would just blurt stuff out. And Catherine had the blurting stuff out thing down. So she knew how to just let that out. And that's why everyone just fell on the floor and went, oh my God, this is too. Everyone knows someone like that. I said, everyone has a Mrs. Olsen at their job and a Nellie at their school.
That's true. That's absolutely true. What about Charlotte Stewart? Is she going to be at the reunion?
Yes. Charlotte goes to everything. Charlotte is 82, 83.
83, I think, yeah.
She rings around me. She wears me out. Me out. She is amazing. When she's at her table and, she makes these bags, the beetle bags, they're absolutely gorgeous. She sews, she makes these beautiful things. When she's at her table, I said, she's not like she's at an autograph show. She's like she's on a convention floor selling Ginsu knives or mops. She is right there going, have you seen this? Have you seen my beetle bag? She is a trip. She is, and the stories. You've read her book, right?
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my God. The stories. Okay, fine. She dated Jim Morrison. Can we just say hello?
How cool is that?
And she, you name it, she did it. It was the 60s. It was the 70s. Miss Beadle was there. And she did it all. She saw it all. And she has great stories. And her husband is a doll as well. He does the mineral shows, the jewelry, and he's just brilliant. He makes things out of meteorites.
Wow, really?
And two of them together are a trip and a half. And she makes the most gorgeous stuff. Oh, she's got lemon verbena perfume now. Because of course she does, because she's Miss Lemon verbena. And she is just lovely. But she is shot from a gun. I don't know how she does it. She
Yeah.
must sleep between the events. She must just like when she finishes one, go to bed and not get up till the next one. That's the only thing I can imagine, that she has the energy to do these.
Yeah, so we're so looking forward to this reunion coming up, right? It's Labor Day weekend, and it's in Farmington, Connecticut.
Yes,
So,
which I am told is absolutely gorgeous and nicer than the other places we're going to have this thing, and like bigger and nicer, and it's a museum, and there's more room for wagons.
awesome.
Because apparently, we didn't have the wagon, but now we're going to have wagons because we couldn't.
And it's only like 15 minutes from Hartford, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, no. If you got a hotel, like because you went, it's a convention center and you got a hotel, it's down the street. It's nothing.
Oh,
It's
okay,
a few
cool.
minutes. You can jump in an Uber. It's like 15 minutes. It's not like you got to like change hotels. It's over there. And Prairie fans will carpool. They will hang out together and all.
Oh, I'm sure. I got a question from a listener. Tom Payton, who listens to the show all the time, wants to know: were you ever attacked because of your character, Nellie?
Yes, I was. More than once. There was the ill-fated Easter Fair, a very expensive school. I think somebody at the network, some mucky at the network's kids went there. It's the only reason I can imagine we were at this thing. Like, why were we at this random private school? Catherine McGregor and I, and they said, "Oh, you're going to be in costume." The studios agreed to it, and you're going to go in costume. Like, wow, somebody knew somebody, because like, why are we doing this? And we got there, and it was a disaster. It was like maybe the second year of the show. People were terrified of us, and nobody wanted our autograph because we were in costume. They were just creeped out. And poor Catherine, these people brought their child over, this little girl, and look, it's Mrs. Zoles. The kids started screaming and crying because she was in the costume with the big hat and the feather and the black dress. The kids screaming bloody murder. And Catherine's like, I'm making children cry. I want to go home. She's very sensitive. Like I said, Catherine, she loved children. She wasn't like Miss Zoles. She's like, I'm making children cry. And it just got worse. And finally, I gave up and went and got a hot dog and, a Slurpee. And then these two little girls came running up behind me and kicked me.
Wow, are you serious?
But I had the petticoats right in the butt and knocked me down to the pavement. And I was like, I felt like a turtle with all the costume and the petticoats. Like, hey, I can't get up. And my father came and got me. He's like, oh yeah, we're leaving. And he said, but he got me another hot dog and a Slurpee because he felt bad. And we went home, and he called them and said, that was a terrible idea. Don't go out in costume. And so then I was in the Hollywood Christmas parade when I was about 16. Thank God, not in costume. And someone threw a McDonald's cup of orange soda at my face.
Are you serious? Oh man, that's my favorite parade. I watch that every year.
It's like boom, right in the face. And it just, and at least it wasn't a beer bottle, so I'm not dead.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's
Crazy.
Christmas. It's like Christmas. Who does
Yeah,
this?
Christmas.
But yeah, people through, and people have gotten really. I mean, people have gotten scared, and people have run away. People are often afraid of me, which is sometimes fun. Like, when I was younger, I was shy at parties, but then with Little House, I'd come in and people would back up and they wouldn't want to talk to me for the first 15 minutes. So, I could get my bearings. But it's really what still people will question my friends and my husband, like, oh, what's that like? Why do you hang out with her? They're horrified that anyone is like friends with me.
Crazy. That's nuts. Also, Brad Siegel from Canarsie just wants to say that he loves Little House and he loved you on the show because you were the troublemaker.
Thank you very much. I did my best.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about your favorite guest star on the show. I know Johnny Cash was on the show. So many great people. Sharon Doherty, right?
I wasn't in the Johnny Cash episode. Jealous. Johnny Cash episode. Patricia Neal. I got to work with Patricia Neal.
Wow.
I mean, oh my God. But she was so laid back. Patricia Neal had been through a lot. I don't know if you've ever read about her life, about when she had the stroke and had to learn to walk and talk again, and all these things she went through and everything. So when she's doing Little House, like they had a teleprompter and she never used it. She was like really into memory. She memorized all of us kids, our names and our birthdays. And she'd say, what celebrity? Oh, January, Cary Grant. And then 3 days later, she'd sort of quiz us, and then she'd remember all of our birthdays and the celebrities.
Oh, wow.
Play memory games all day long to improve her memory.
Oh,
and we were in her dressing room. She's Oscar winner, Patricia Neal, and the doors open, and she's doing needlepoint, and we're sitting on the floor, a bunch of kids on the floor of her dressing room hanging out.
Amazing. Yeah, so many great guest stars were on that show. It's amazing. If you watch it, I mean, you see all these big stars pop up here and there.
It was like, I want to get me on Little House at one point. It was like, I want to be in that show. We got everybody. We had Ernest Borgnine, and of course Johnny Cash. But we had all these huge like Oscar winner, like major stars come on our show. It was a big deal.
Amazing. And I know you're friends with Dawn Wells, right? Dawn Wells was a good friend of yours.
Oh, I loved I loved Gilligan's Island as a kid, and I did get to meet a lot of the people from the cast, but I became very good friends with Miss Dawn Wells, who was a stitch. Marianne was, talk about one of the funniest, wildest, craziest people. Marianne was the best.
Amazing. And even Peter Billingsley, who was on A Christmas Story, was a part of the show at one point or another.
Billingsley came on our show. Who do we have? You know who we had on our show too? We had the episode he played Toby No from, but he was yes, we had from the Wizard of Oz. We had the Scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz was on. Oh, do you know we have the multiple Wizard of Oz Little House tie-ins? This is really weird.
No, tell us about it.
We had the guy from the Wizard of Oz was on the show, Scarecrow, and then we shot at MGM on stage 15. We moved to MGM, which is the soundstage where they shot the Wizard of Oz. And one day, Melissa and I found the Yellow Brick Road. They've been tearing up some of the linoleum, and the Yellow Brick Road was still there. And we walked on the Yellow Brick Road. And who did the music for Little House on the Prairie? David Rose.
Oh, wow.
Who was married to Judy. He was Judy Garland's first husband.
Really? Oh, wow. How cool is that?
So there you are. So that's it. So it's our crazy Wizard of Oz. And we have a Star Trek tie-in. So hilarious. We have a Star Trek. Besides the fact that I'm friends with William Shatner, we hang out on Twitter. We're Twitter buddies. A lot of Star Trek people are Prairie fans, and vice versa. There's a lot of that. I found it. Shatner is like a total Bonnethead Prairie fan, loves the show. Jerry Ryan also, I believe, loves Little House. Her kids watch it. So we have all these people. But we filmed on stage, was it 30 and 31 at Paramount Studios, which when it was Desilu, when it first opened, those sound stages were number 9 and 10. And that's when we filmed Star Trek.
Amazing. So you got to see all that going on, which was awesome.
So we were on. So Shatner and I shared a soundstage, and then my dad, when he was young, was on Broadway in a play with William Shatner.
Oh wow!
Canadians. So
and he's still very busy. I mean, he's out like every weekend, still signing.
Shatner does not stop.
Here.
Shatner is working. He's hilarious. Shatner does not stop. But great time. So you have Little House Star Trek tie-in, Little House Wizard of Oz tie-in. It's very bizarre. We have weird crossovers.
I know we're running out of time here, but I just want to ask you real quick about Steve Tracy, your husband, when they married Nellie off. Tell us about that real quick, about that whole Nellie being married off situation.
I didn't think, marry my character off. I was like, who'd marry her? I was like, oh, that's fine. And Michael just comes in one morning, makeup, you're getting married. I'm like, I beg your pardon. And then he keeps coming into the room going, and he's Jewish. And he's a short guy. And he tells Mrs. Olsen to shut up. And he's like telling me these things and running away. And I'm like, where's he going? And why is he running into the room, announcing plot lines, and then running back out of the room? It's very bizarre. Even for Michael, this was odd. And I get out of makeup, and I go down the hall, and the dressing room door is open. His dressing room door is usually open. He's hanging out. He's got his yellow legal pad, and he's left-handed, you know. Yellow legal pad with his pencil, scribbling furiously. I went, you're writing this right now, aren't you? Yes. I said, you're literally coming up with it. You just came in, thought of that, told me, and then wrote it down. Yes. I said, that is actually what you're doing. He goes, yeah. I said, don't we film this in like a couple of weeks? Oh, it'll be done by then. And he did. He would write things by absolutely longhand on a yellow legal pad in pencil. And then he had, Evie Malouf, I believe was the legendary Evie. And this would all get typed up. And then they all did no computers, ticket, typewriter. And then there'd be all the edits. But he would crank this stuff out. He'd just start writing in the middle of the night while he was doing other things and crank out episodes. And he loved this episode. He said it was like his parents. His mom was tall and blonde and domineering, and his father was a short Jewish man. And I'm like, I remind him of his mother. Wait, what is happening? So I have no idea who this guy's going to be. All I know is it's going to be a comedy. It's going to be this. He's going to be short. I don't know. It's going to be a character actor and he's going to be older. I mean, Dean was older than Melissa. Linwood Boomer. Adam was older than Mary. Melissa Sue Anderson. And so Melissa Cooper and I are sitting there watching every guy who comes on the set. Is it him? Is it him? Is it him? And this guy come and go, wait, he's cute. And Steve Tracy arrives, and he's the sweetest thing. And he has freckles and that curly hair, and he was so cute and so darling. And we became friends immediately. Wow. And then we became husband and wife on the show. You know, some people do have issues with kissing complete strangers on TV.
Right.
can understand. Melissa was so young. She's like, oh my God, I got to kiss Dean Butler. She had a hell of a time.
Yeah, we
kissing
talked about that with Dean. Yeah.
Oh, she was just like, ooh. And also her mom. If her mom hadn't come to the set, I firmly believe, knowing Melissa's I do, if her cuckoo mom hadn't come to the set and sat there and cried audibly during the kissing scene, going, my baby, she would have been fine. I think if she'd been left alone and she and Dean could have just sat and talked and she didn't have her mom hanging over her shoulder, she'd probably been totally fine. But yeah, who are you going to kiss with your mother sitting there yelling at you? I mean, my mother was like, I don't think you need me to come down to the set with you to kiss some actor. I think you'll be okay. So Steve and I, we enjoyed the kissing scenes. We thought it was the funniest thing in the world. We had a great time with it. We had so much fun with the characters. He told Mrs. Olsen to shut up, became a national hero overnight. Wow. Brilliant, funny man. But it was the 70s. And yes, in the early 80s, he was diagnosed with AIDS. And I mean, this is before you tested positive. There was no test. There didn't know anything. In fact, he had been reading up on it because he was very up on things. It took him 4 doctors to get a correct diagnosis of AIDS at the time. Because it was still so new. Doctor said, well, I don't know what this is. And he said, well, I've been reading all the articles. I think this is GRID or AIDS. It's been called. I have that. And they were like, no, that's not it. And he goes, no, really, I think. And he had to go down to UCLA and finally find a guy who knew what the heck he was doing and went, yeah, of course. Said, yeah, you're right. These guys have never seen it before. They're idiots. They don't know. It was all experimental drugs. I mean, they really had nothing. And he fought and fought. He was so brave, so incredible. And his family stood by. His mom and his sister flew out from Florida and actually stood by him to the end. And we all did. The whole cast did. We were visiting him and trying to do everything we could for him and hang out with him to the very end. And he was just such a wonderful person. But he was, 32 years old when he died.
Terrible. And, they've come such a long way with age, these days. Yeah.
Been sick today. I mean, if he'd be even gotten sick in 93 or 94, he'd probably be alive now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But there's nothing they could do then. So, but he was the kind of guy. I mean, he was doing experimental these injections, and they were painful. I said, how are you doing this? And he's like, no, I got to do it. And I said, is it going to work? Because it was this really fabulous new drug. Apparently, that drug is one of the building blocks of what is now the cocktail that is keeping people alive. It's one of the things that's in it. So they were in the early stages of trying to come up with that. And I said, is it going to work? He literally said, it's too late for me. I'm doing this so they can save someone after I'm gone.
Oh, wow.
That's the kind of person he was. And technically, he was right. Because if you go talk to the doctor, say, well, what is an AIDS cocktail and what are these drugs and these antivirals that we're using that suppress the virus so well people live? They start talking about the drugs that were put in.
Right. Well, he did help people in the long run.
He absolutely did.
Well, anyway, we are excited about this big reunion coming up, Labor Day weekend. I can't wait I'm actually going to try to come up and see you guys. So
please do.
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
It is absolutely going to be a hoot and a half. It really will.
So it's Farmingville, Connecticut, right? And it's going to be at the museum, the Hillstead Museum.
Hillstead.
That's it. 35 Mountain Road, Farmington, Connecticut. So we are looking forward to that. And thank you so much, Allison, for joining me on the show. Always so much fun to hang out and talk with you. You are the best.
I know. We could do this we could go like another 2 hours.
Oh, absolutely. Before I let you go, can you do me a quick liner for the show? Say, hey, it's
Sure. Wait, what do I got to say? What do I got to say?
You're listening to Jimmy Deal on Celebrity Spotlight.
All right, 1, 2, 3. You're listening to Jimmy Deal on Celebrity Spotlight.
Just give me your first name and, Allison Arngrim, Nellie, or whatever. Yeah.
This is Allison Arngrim, and you know me as Evil Nellie Olsen from Little House on the Prairie, and you're listening to Jimmy Deal on Celebrity Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Allison. I appreciate it so much. Always so much fun to talk to you. I can't wait to see you. Hopefully I'll see you Labor Day weekend. We'll get to hang out a little bit, and you stay well.
I shall.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everybody for listening to the show tonight. You can hang out right there, Allison. I'll come right back to you. I'm just going to wrap up the show. Tom Payton for listening out there. So many great people. Cindy, the producer, was out there. I know she a whole bunch of people listening to the show tonight. Mary Lou Fajette is out there. Carl out in Long Island listening. Tony and DeMaria. Donna Mulholland is out there. Thank you, Donna. Deneen Manjaro. So many people out there listening. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And coming up on Thursday, we have a special Celebrity Spotlight. Burt Ward's going to be here from Batman. Of course, he's a Hollywood icon, Hollywood Walk of Fame star. Burt Ward, the original Robin from the Batman television series, will be here Thursday. He's also got the creator of the Gentle Giants dog and puppy food and cat and kitten food. He's making pets live a lot longer with these great healthy ingredients, non-GMO ingredients in these Gentle Giant pet food. So we're looking forward to talk to Robin about that. He's a true superhero to not only to people but obviously to pets as well. So excited about talking to him about all that great stuff. And also an Elvis tribute artist from here in Brooklyn, a friend of mine, Lamar Peters, is going to be on the show coming up. And also Aaron Murphy is going to be here. The original Tabitha from Bewitched is going to be here. So, yeah, she's great. So I can't wait to talk to her. So many great shows on the way. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate it so much. Alison Ogren, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. And
always.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. It was so great. Everybody have a fantastic night, and we will catch you on Thursday with Burt Ward, the original Robin from Batman. See you on Thursday.